Yes.
So first and foremost, everyone should probably keep a manageable distance from me today because I went hiking, forgot that I didn't have deodorant in my backpack, then put CBD balm, which I thought was deodorant, on my armpits, and now my armpits burn. And I smell like sweat and mint CBD. So yay for that, right? That's super fun. So that is, everyone should have a small restraining order against me today. So, but what we're going to do today is we are going to go over how to kind of take what we've been working on. And this is going to be a 4-week long over and over again class. So this is going to be more of like a cohort style where the goal is to actually understand how to create assets, which is the most important thing, because if you can understand how to do the thing fundamentally, you don't need me, right? And I have been saying from the very beginning, I am probably the only AI teacher that does not want you to be dependent on me for anything ever, right? Because the tool can be the thing that you utilize to kind of move the business forward, right? So my goal is to teach you guys the systems so that you guys understand how to operate within them, and then you can just build whatever you want. And so the way it kind of used to be is when you were going to build something, you would need to map it out and build each asset individually. That is no longer the case with AI and what it allows for you. So the model now, and we'll get into this as we go on, is that you basically have your brain in the center, and then all the things offshoot from that brain, right? And so the AI interprets the brain and creates the asset specific to what you're doing. And that allows you to scale things that were historically unscalable, right? Because if you were going to make a web page historically, that's like a whole day's work, X, Y, and Z. But if you have the context to do it, you can build it and send it within minutes. So you can create very, very personalized assets for whatever unique kind of context you have. So, here's the QR code for the day. So if you want to scan that, that should, I don't know if it'll have the prompts and everything yet, but it will get, should get pretty close to having all the prompts. And if it doesn't, it will before next week's class. This is who I am. You know me by now. And this is my rant for the week. So I am about to talk about why we are at a very, very dangerous place in American AI history. And that is because for the second time ever, because the previous administration did it and this administration does it. So this is not a political statement on which administration is doing it better. I think they both handled it atrociously. So I am talking down to all politicians now, right? I am insulting Republicans and Democrats, everybody. So basically, what the administration has done and what all politicians believe, in my opinion, is that to better manage progress, you have to be able to slow it down so you can understand it, and that has never worked, not once, right? So I have never once in my life had a theory that turned out to be 100% true every step of the way. Almost all theories need iterated forward when you get new data to kind of complete that cycle, right? And so what's happening right now is the two strongest American AI models, which is from Anthropic as well as ChatGPT. So you have Anthropic, which released Fable 5 and Mythos, and you have ChatGPT, which released GPT 5.6. Both of them are what in the tech space we call kind of step advances, meaning that they are a much different caliber of tool than the previous generation. These tools make everyone in this room capable of doing the things that I do as long as you have a framework to do them within, right? So it makes it very, very simple to create pretty much anything you guys need, right? Because you guys are not frontier computer scientists, you guys aren't modeling a bunch of data, stuff like that, so you don't have to be the most technical person in the world to use this stuff to create highly, highly valuable assets. So by June 13th, Mythos was on the market for, I think, 4 days, and it was pulled due to an export control, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the reason it's ridiculous is because the only thing that America has over China as it relates to the technological space is the fact that we give really smart people the freedom to do really cool things. China has better engineering infrastructure, they have better manufacturing infrastructure, they have significantly better power infrastructure, which is the biggest problem. And we are doing everything, America is doing everything we can to limit our compute export and all this other stuff. I say that to say that what China does is when a new American model comes out, they will get tens of thousands of accounts and they will do something called a distillation attack, which means that they have, throughout all those accounts, they prompt and they pull information and how the model is responding, and they pull the information out of it. So as America is slowing down our AI space, China is speeding up. And so that is a massive problem because America kind of has to win this, or else the problem is if we go to Chinese open source models, which a lot of companies are doing now since this administration has pulled kind of the export controls and have actively slowed down American innovation development, the open source models are catching up. And the more the open source models catch up, the more that presents security risks, the more that presents just a bunch of different things that, as an example, Anthropic has said, if we are not able to generate trillions of dollars, we will go bankrupt. That's what they've said. And so as open source catches up, the more technical you are, the more you can use open source technologies, which means the less it costs you to actually run intelligence. And the more that these models advance, the less technical you need to be to use open source models. So with all of that being said, as open source catches up, if we don't let our frontier labs continue to push things forward, they catch up, and now people will switch to them because there is next to no cost. So as an example, if Claude Mythos cost $10 for a response, the open source version of that is roughly equivalent strength would cost a couple pennies for the output, right? And so what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are fostering as much innovation as we can, just like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates did computers in their garage. We need Americans who are really smart to be able to do that and then put it to work for the rest of America. So all of these export controls and this nonsense of politicians trying to slow things down is slowing America down, but the rest of the world's still going. That's the problem. But I will say they just did something great. And that was they added Marc Andreessen, who a lot of people outside of Silicon Valley don't know, but he is the founder of A16 Capital. It's A16Z Capital, I think. It's Andreessen Horowitz. So they are a venture capital firm. And what's needed is we need smart people who are actually working in the AI space to be managing policy decisions. We don't need the Secretary of Commerce, who I will not name and I do not like, to be advising, because what they're doing is they're literally walling it off to, I would wager, all of their friends, right? So I think anyone who's advising on AI policy should have to disclose what companies they sit on the board of, what companies they're invested in. They should basically have to open source their financials, because what they are doing is they are saying, hey, this model is restricted to everyone but these 100 companies. Why do those 100 companies get it when no one else does? It's just like COVID when they were shutting down small businesses and allowing Walmart and those guys to stay open, right? They crushed local hardware stores, but Walmart could stay open. Not reasonable. Both administrations did it. It sucks for both parties, right? So just let American small business do American small business things, and you will more often than not end up in a better place than you started. So that is my rant. Hopefully I do not get arrested. That's Marc Andreessen. So he is a super cool guy, really, really smart. And like I said, the more elite tech people that we get in positions of policy advocation, the better it is for American innovation. So today we are going to build your MVP. MVP in this case does not mean most valuable player. It means minimum viable product. So what is a minimum viable product? Minimum viable product in the tech space basically means that you are building the lowest thing that creates value. So if you're not an engineer or a builder, what mostly happens, and I am as guilty of this as anyone else, is identifying the problem and saying, okay, I need to solve this problem as well as I possibly can, or no one will love the solution, right? And so oftentimes what should be done is the Henry Ford solution, right? So Henry Ford said there's no big problems, only a million small ones. If you can solve a bunch of small problems and then shove that together to a bigger product, that's where you get real alpha, real value, right? And so we want to solve one small problem that is actually solved, right? Build the whole bridge so you don't build a half bridge and then come back to land and say, okay, now I'm going to build another half bridge and another half bridge. Build one complete solution and then move on. That is where people get kind of off track, is they're like, okay, this is good, but it could be better. This is good, but and yes, you should absolutely iterate forward like that, but you should have something that works before you start taking next steps. And I am terrible at this, working on it. So the model is not the edge. So the more technical you become, and I'm not saying everyone in here needs to become developers or programmers or whatever, but the more technical you become, the less the model needs to be intelligent because you're giving it good instructions. The better instructions you can give any model, the more effective it is going to be in executing for you. And so that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. The more technical you become, the more advanced stuff you can do. And that's on the front end and the minimum end. So the goal is to try to come up with systems that work for you. I'm going to be telling you guys stuff that works for me. That is not gospel, right? Like, take it. Everyone in here has different strengths and different weaknesses than me. And that is what AI is really, really useful for. It's really useful for leveling the playing field across all strengths and weaknesses, right? So because I can talk with AI, my strengths have the potential to be optimized even further, and my weaknesses have the potential to be brought up to a place where they are at minimum competent in a very, very rapid fashion. So the goal is not to focus on, oh, I need the smartest thing, I need the smartest thing. That being said, I do recommend that at minimum, everyone creates a budget of at least $20 to get one of the premium models. I don't care which one, but it's Google, X, Anthropic, or OpenAI. So you should invest a $20 budget in that. I would recommend that, especially as you get more proficient and you're using the tools more, that you think about a $100 budget, because that is kind of the secondary tier. It gives you a bunch more usage. It gives you more of the advanced features. And so there's return on investment as a metric, right? What we are going to see in the future is something called return on tokens. So token is how an AI responds. That's how the AI receives information and responds to information. A token is roughly, I think it's 3.5 to 7 characters. So a token is just a fragment of a sentence that all gets mashed together. And it's just like we talk about building projects, right? You want to build the Lego blocks. This is the way AI talks, in tokens. So the more Lego blocks you use, the more tokens it uses, which means the more expensive the outputs are if you're paying for it on an API basis. That's why I recommend getting the $100 plan for Claude. So what we are going to do is, you guys know that generic does not win as it relates to creating outputs, right? We need to have our own personal context in there so that your business is different than your business is different than your business is different than your business, right? Everybody's business is entirely different, even though it's roughly the same, right? So I tell people that the biggest alpha you can have is the 20% of business that's different, right? So if you look at real estate versus a dental office, 80% of those businesses are the same. But people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that, until I say this. Dental offices need customer acquisition. Real estate needs customer acquisition. Dental offices need customer retention. Same with real estate. Operations, finance. If you look at the macro factors that run a business, there's very little difference between Goodyear Tire and a real estate company from the fundamentals of running a business, right? Now, they sell tires, you sell real estate, so that's wildly different, and the operations are going to be wildly different, but you each have operations that are required to run the business effectively, right? So the business, the AI understands the 80%. The important thing for you guys is to really dial in the 20% that you are giving the AI to create the outputs that are specific to you, right? Like what I think is a beautiful website is going to be different than what everybody else in this room thinks is a beautiful website, right? And so your clients care what you think is a beautiful website. They don't care what I think is a beautiful website. If you've made that connection and they've said, hey, I trust you enough to help with one of the biggest life decisions I can possibly do, for the most part, right, is buying a house, right? That's massive for most people. And so if they trust you in that way, they trust your style, they trust you. They don't trust the AI, they don't trust me. So you guys have to be having the agency to build the assets that you know work in your style, meaning your language, your visual patterns, the architecture that you want to use to present to your clients, right? So what we are going to do is, this is what I was talking about. So skill or subscription. So the more technical you are, you can get away with doing stuff for free. So theoretically, if I wanted to, I can build a system that would allow me to use a very old or free AI model that would get relatively roughly the same results as a frontier model. But it's going to require a lot more design on my end, a lot more architecture building, it's just a lot more stuff to do, right? And that's what it means to be technical, is you have the ability to do that stuff and access things at a lower cost. That being said, I would recommend that everybody save themselves the hundreds of hours of learning about this and just pay for the higher model, right? Because you guys will never need, probably, to have frontier level intelligence for computer science stuff, right? Like you guys aren't going out and solving physics problems. Maybe you are. I don't want to put limitations on you guys, but ideally, you're not going out and solving physics problems and stuff like that. For real estate, this should be a super, super simple opportunity for you guys to capitalize on the intelligence. So context is how you do that. So the way we build context is we're going to build context in very, very simple markdown files. What that means, so a markdown file is just a plain text file. So the easiest way to do that is to create a folder on your desktop that says context engine. Then underneath that, you want to create a folder that says my business context, my client context, my deal context. Those are the big three. And then all you do is you start a new markdown file for your client. And that's per client. So if you have the Smiths, the Jenkins, and the Chases, you want 3 different files that have their personal context. Now, the reason for that is, one, if let's say you sell them the house and they come back to you, you already have their context saved, right? If they come back to you in 5 years and are like, hey, you did a great job with this house, I want to move again, you've got their context saved, and you can just go in there and be like, oh, hey, do you still have a dog? Are you staying married? Like all these things, right? Like you can go through and be like, I'm just verifying all the stuff I have so that we can really move forward in finding you the best house, right? And so with that, it enables you to take the AI, fix it on that folder, and you can make whatever asset you want. And we'll go over exactly what that looks like, how to build landing pages, how to build emails, how to build follow-up, how to build the whole thing. We're not gonna do that today. We're gonna work to our MVP today, but this is going to be the thing that is the most important, is providing useful context and understanding what context is useful and what context is absolutely not. Because you can give the AI too much context and confuse it, right? So what I like to tell people is proper context management is giving the AI the right information at the right time. If you're building let's say you're building a landing page for the Smiths, you don't want the context for the Jenkins to be in that. You don't want a bunch of deals that the Smiths would never be interested in to be in that, right? And so the goal is to create the context that gives the AI the right information to help you build good, useful assets for you. And this is kind of the new model, right? We've got the brain here, and then this is what's called a spoke and wheel. So it is not linear. Historically, what would happen is you would have the plan over here, and then that plan would go to a landing page, and then that landing page would go to an email, and then that email would go to something and something and something, right? And it would be a straight line of progress. This is no longer a straight line of progress because the straight line of progress is unscalable. It is much harder to change a straight line than it is to say, I have a brain, I can create whatever I want, right? And so that is one of the most important things to understand is the model with which we are creating resources is different than it used to be. And so, like I said, we've got so all of this leads to reviews, social posts, emails, listing copy, client pages, deal pages, your personal page, follow-up. All of that stems from the building the correct brain. So your agent context, don't overcomplicate it. It's literally just a folder. It is literally just a folder on your computer that you enter in this is the information that I have, right? And I'm going to teach you guys how to create all of it in Claude or GPT or whatever AI you want. The big thing is you don't want to get tied to a model. You do not want to get stuck, oh, I have to use Claude, because then if OpenAI releases something that is a step change better, you can't change because you're stuck to the model, right? And so if you build your own resources, what I like to tell people is building your own resources is owning your business, not renting it. If you are building just within one AI model and the files and all the memory are staying in that model, if you need to leave for whatever, let's say the model goes bankrupt, all your stuff goes away. If that data dies, and the company dies, everything that you've built within that model is at risk, right? And so we want to own this locally. And and this is why I said that we are at really, really dangerous time in AI for America, is because you need to own your context locally, because the government is now interceding in ways that I don't believe it should. And so that is problematic to the point where I am encouraging people, and I've been encouraging people to be able to change quickly, own your context. It should be on your computer, not in the cloud, not anywhere. Own your context because it's problematic and you can get locked into to a bad model if you don't. All of it could go away. And in real estate, speed is an alpha, right? Like if you can move faster than your competition, you can beat your competition by being able to do just that, right? So you've got your agent context, which is the context for you and your business. This is the stuff that maybe you hate the word dream home, right? And so you will put in there, do not use the word dream home. Maybe you're someone who does short-term rentals, commercial, whatever it is. Your context is the thing that tells the agent, hey, this is about this person. This is not public data. This is, I say it all the time, but one of the biggest advantages you can have is non-public proprietary data. If the data is on the internet, you do not have an advantage with it, unless it's like locked to your company or something like that, right? Like Compass does a great job providing a ton of resources. And so there is a little bit of a moat there as well. But if those resources are being pulled in from public places, so like if you're looking at, you know, the tax assessor, you're looking at the appraisal, stuff like that, that's public knowledge, anyone can go get it, right? And so we don't want to be locked into saying like, oh, public knowledge is, it's accessible to everyone, so it's not an advantage to anyone at this point. And so I chose Marge Simpson as the example for Red Blazer Realty. So basically what we are going to do is we're going to build out a full context kit, and what that is going to have is your personal, your client, and your deal. And we're going to build our first landing page today with that, is my intention. So we're going to go ahead and build. I don't think it's going to take an hour because once we have the context, it should move very, very quickly. But basically, once you have a process for doing this, it's the same every time. So with AI, one of the things that you'll see is the work on the front end feels like it takes forever, and it should. That's the thing that people can't wrap their head around. The work on the front end should be 80% of the work that you are doing, right? What happens then is the 20% is where you go really, really fast. That's where you have that context built out and you are ready to rock and roll as quickly as possible. But that initial 80%, it feels like you are slogging in the mud. It feels like everyone is passing you, and it feels like you're moving really, really slowly. And to be honest, you might be at that point, and that's okay. We move slowly at one place so we can go insanely fast at the next, right? Speed, like I said, speed is an advantage, and the only way to get as fast as possible is to remove as many friction points that you foresee it as you can, right? And so the way to do that is by creating highly useful context. So page 1, and this is, I think I have a folder here, but this is basically the business folder that you have. So this is going to be the page that AI and buyers find when they look you up. So if you want a landing page for yourself personally, this is going to be a very, very simple way to do it. So this is a prompt. What I always recommend is one of the things that content creators do to kind of gatekeep their information is they put it on slides like this, right? So like, neener, 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 I have it, you don't. How do you get it? Take a screenshot, take out your phone, take a picture of this, take it to ChatGPT, say, ChatGPT, transcribe this image. Information can no longer be gatekept from you guys. So anytime there's a slide or information or something that you want to have personally, take a picture of it, tell ChatGPT to transcribe it. You then have that information, right? And so people can no longer gatekeep, and I'm probably pissing off every content creator in the known world with this, but I don't care. So again, if you want to take a picture of this, you are super welcome to. But you can see this is a very, very simple prompt that says, read every file in my agent context, my business folder first, then follow my guardrails for everything below. Build a one-page personal landing page for me as a real estate agent. Output the full page copy plus a simple single section HTML layout I can paste into a site builder. So include in my voice a headline that says who I am, who I help, where, all the stuff, right? So basically what you are telling this AI is, what does a good landing page even look like, right? Because what the AI has preconceived notions of what good looks like, what is good design, what is all that stuff. Now the problem with what AI does is it's an aggregator. So when you say good design, it's trying to design things with counter information from all sides. So it just takes its full information and just dumps it. And usually, I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple years ago, almost every new web page was like a purple-blue gradient with like some type of bubbly font. That's because the AI was just aggregating it and then putting it out as junk, right? It's almost every web page there was the same for a little while until people started to understand that, like, hey, we have to tell it that the styling needs to change. And there are still some people that have the purple blue fonts. And so what I would recommend is, if you see that gradient pattern, understand that if they're trying to tell you something about AI, they have no idea what they're talking about. Right? So just understand that is the mark of what's called AI slop. So the next page is the deal. And so again, we've got another prompt, and it's going to do the same thing. So it's going to read it. It's going to create that output that it's targeting, right? And so this says, build a one-page listing landing page for that property. Output full page copy plus a simple single section HTML layout. That is one of the most important things, is giving the AI, what exactly am I supposed to output? Am I supposed to output a Next.js app? Am I supposed to output a single web page? So most web pages that you see online are going to be based in HTML, hypertext markup language. So that's the very, very, very common thing. And super duper fun fact, if you ask for the AI to give you a return in HTML, so if you ask for the output that you put in HTML, it will create a web page for whatever output you want, and you can actually modify and change the variables on that web page right on the web page, and then screenshot it and put it back into the AI saying, hey, this is what I want, let's do this. So the next thing we've got is the client, and that's, again, same thing for landing page, right? And so all of these individual context things are siloed, right? And so once you start putting them together, that's where you start getting your really, really unique, custom, very scaled assets that you can start delivering to clients. So as an example, you might have a deal that has very little natural light, yet your client wants all the natural light, right? And so you can put all this together and it will say like, hey, the detriments of this deal are there's no natural light. The solution I've come up with to that is if you want to do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, right? So you can say, I've got a deal. It's not exactly what you want, but here's what you can do to make it a lot closer to what you want, right? And so now you're starting to match people to things that are actually valuable, right? You're not just you're adding value to the transaction, which is the thing that is going to separate the next generation of real estate agents from the current generation, right? Like you have to be able to add personal value with almost every touch point that a client has with you. Speaking just from like a marketing sense, like I'm in the marketing space, if I'm not providing value for every touch point, people just tend to move on. And I mean, we've talked about it with Carly, right? Like if I didn't come in here and provide value immediately, it would have been, hey, what's next, right? And it ain't me. It ain't me that's next if I'm not providing value. And the same thing happens on a real estate client transaction. You want to provide value at every touch point so that when they get off the phone with you, whether they think, wow, they really know what they're talking about with AI, they really know what they're talking about with the local market, I feel valued, whatever it is that's going to make that client be more of one of your big fans, that's what we're going for. We need kind of brand alignment at this point because it's no longer just transactional, right? Like people are searching in ChatGPT, they're talking more, they're analyzing more. Everything is happening to a higher volume. And so the people who are doing things that produce higher quality outputs, I believe are going to win in the long term. And I think that this is going to be one of those things where AI, and we've already seen it kind of in the software industry, where AI is forcing consolidation, right? Like I've said this before, but if you're mediocre at what you do, AI will kick you in the teeth, right? So you have to be an expert. You don't have to be an expert at everything, but you have to be an expert at something that allows you to provide more value than someone who just goes to ChatGPT, right? Because everyone is going to ChatGPT. I don't know a single real estate transaction from people that I've talked to that has happened without some intervention with AI, right? And so right now, one of the things that's like super duper important with that, and we've talked about it in these classes, is to intervene early and to intervene with quality. If you intervene early and your outputs suck, they're just gonna think you're bad, right? Like they're just gonna think you're bad at it. So intervene early with things that add value. Review the client context card with the client, right? Say, hey, does what I have here match what you're thinking? And that is one of the most valuable things you can do. So we are going to actually build some stuff now, and I am going to, okay, so go over what we're going to do next week, and then we're going to build stuff. So next week, like I said, this week is just about getting something functional that you can use. Next week, we're going to talk about branding, taste, and optimization. So next week is where we get really, really fancy, but next week doesn't happen without a good job this week, right? So, and there's still my beautiful grandma who still makes me want to cry every time. And one day I will give her a beautiful speech that is very honoring to her legacy and I will post it somewhere. But until then, I just get off that slide because I want to cry right now. So we are going to go over actually building something. And yeah.
You gave us the prompts for the folders for the client and my business, but you didn't give us one for my deals. What is that?
This one.
This one? Hold on. But I have. I got 3. I did miss 2. Sorry, thanks.
Oh, no worries.
Thanks for the slow one. Yeah. Got it.
Perfect. All right. So what we are going to do is, so you can go to whatever AI you want, AI of your choosing, and I am going to build this in Claude, so it is not that daunting. So this is the desktop version of Claude, and this is the primary model that I'm using right now. As you can see, Fable 5 still unavailable, yay for that. What we are going to do, let's see, I should have All right. So, and honestly, so what I did right there is I literally told it to find and open the things that it created earlier, because I'm not 100% sure where it stored it on my computer, right? And so rather than me digging through my computer and trying to find it, I just tell, so this is a version of Claude. Don't get freaked out that it looks like a terminal, because it is. So, and there it is. So I told it to go into my computer, find those folders, and open that location for me. One of the things that I really love about Claude Code and some of the things that actually have access to your system is you can let it function like an IT person. My computer, when I was purchasing it, I was told, hey, this is going to work great as long as you don't decide to code or do video editing. Within 6 months, guess what old genius boy decided to do? Both of the things that they said would not make my computer work. Turns out it does, because I have the ability to have Claude Code go in and empty space when I need it, clear up RAM when I need it, do things that I am not technically proficient at doing, right? Because everybody thinks that IT is the exact same. There are so many different facets of it. You can be cybersecurity, you can be performance optimization, you can be asset building. There are so many things that you can do within the tech space that I am not an expert in everything. This thing is. And so when I say, hey, go find non-invasive things that you can delete from my computer, give me a list of what it is, what space it's taking up, and how to clean it up, it'll present that list, and I can say, go ahead, fire them off, get rid of it, and it will go and delete it. Highly, highly useful. You can have it set up things in your computer. You can have it do almost anything, which is dangerous, but also very valuable. So you want to make sure that you're always asking it, is this safe? So when it comes back with a thing, as an example, it came back, like I was like, go do X, Y, and Z and bring it back to me. And so it was like, oh, I found all these things in your downloads folder that you can delete. Okay, well, why can I delete them? Because they have a number 2 behind them, which historically represents that they're a duplicate, right? The parentheses and 2 if you save it. Now, what it wasn't being aware of is that sometimes I delete the wrong one and end up with just the copy that has the number 2 behind it. And so I said, hey, are these actually duplicate files, or are you about to delete things that are valuable to me? Oops, sorry, I was about to delete a bunch of stuff that probably provided value to you because there's no duplicate file for this one, this one, and this one, right? And so you always want to be thinking about what's the worst case that could happen. Ask the AI if that worst case is available or going to happen, and more often than not, it'll be like, oh yeah, my bad, I was about to delete your entire computer, right? So there's a super funny meme out there that has someone taking a picture of a mushroom and asking ChatGPT if it's poisonous. And then ChatGPT says, no, you're definitely okay to eat that mushroom. And then in the next scene, it's a tombstone that has the date of death. And ChatGPT says, oh, sorry, turns out that mushroom was poisonous, right? Because that's all ChatGPT is going to say to you after it destroys your entire system, right? And so make sure that you have a backup. So I would use either like Google Drive or something called GitHub to push those files into, so that you always have a cloud backup as well as something saved on your computer. GitHub, GITHUB. And GitHub is one of those technical platforms, and it's good and bad. Because it's good because GitHub is very accessible via AI, meaning you will never even have to look at the platform once you get it set up. But you do have to get it set up. And if you want to get it set up, just let me know, and I will be happy to do that one-on-one with you. No cost, like that. I'm just here to help, right? So GITHUB, and it is a backup.
How do you tell the app to work with your computer, or is it just going to?
So it depends. So if you're using like the hard app, so like if you've downloaded Claude, the app, that is what's called in a sandbox, meaning that it creates a virtual environment that you can provide access to folders, but it is not going to have free reign over your entire computer. So if I click this, I can add files, I can add folders, I can add things from GitHub, I can add all these different things, right? And so also, as a fun fact, you may see that the name here is Bert Turdley. That is the name that I give to all AIs. So if you see that on the internet, that is the name that I regret giving the AI, because now it calls me Bert every time I log into it. And I'm too sad to tell it we don't know each other that well. So what we've got here, I think it's this one. So this is the agent context. And so you'll see these are all .md files. I'm going to show you that these are not that complicated. So if you go into the About Me, so this is the About Me for Marge Simpson. I am Marge Simpson, a residential agent at Red Blazer Realty here in Springfield. The short version of what I do, I help families buy and sell homes, and I tell them the truth about the house, even the parts that are hard to hear. This is not a slogan. It is the only way I know how to work. If a basement floods, I say the basement floods. Please remember that. And they send me that. People remember that and they send me their cousins, so on and so forth. And so this goes all the way down with, so getting back into resource management is also something we've talked about, right? And so I use a 4T system: tech, tides, tangible assets, and talent. So tech, what are the tools that you're using? Tangible assets, what are the real things I have access to now? Whether that's capital, whether that's a deal, whether that's like an office space, whatever it is that you have now, a podcast space that you can use as a resource to create content. Whatever it is that you have as a tangible asset, the only way the AI can help you manage your resources well is if you've actually taken the time to aggregate your resources in one place. That is one of the things that takes a lot of time, is to sit down and really think about tech, tides. So tides are things that I believe are going to happen, whether I want to be a part of it or not, right? So like with AI, that's happening. I can either watch it happen or I can get on the train and be a part of it happening. And then I have things that I think skills are very useful. So like communication, I think is a skill that's going to absolutely rule the world in the future. Resource management, pattern matching, things like that. And then also things like human connection, right? As we move towards an AI-based, digitally aggressive world, human connection is going to fade more and more, and there's going to be a deep desire from people to actually reestablish human connection. And we're already seeing that in people at younger levels than me. Like I was just at an esports conference that had esports athletes that were, I think 8 was the youngest that was there, and they ranged all the way to kind of freshmen in college, right? Those guys, they do not want to be sitting in front of video games all the time as much as they are sitting in front of video games all the time. They came to that event to have the human connection, right? To be able to look their competitors in the eyes and compete with them, right? And that's the human connection that they're after. So even in the esports space, parents are spending thousands of dollars to come together and build human connection for those kids, right? And so if that's happening in video games, and those are like the most introverted, least connection needing people I've ever met, because I am one of those people, it only goes up from there, right? And so this is that context for you. So like, what is your background? What are you working on right now? Ideally, this gets updated weekly. I will tell you full disclosure, I am terrible at updating weekly. So what I recommend is having a meeting with your AI scheduled weekly, just like you would with an assistant or your team, whatever it is. Just say, hey, this is my weekly context update. I sold this deal. I got this new client. I found this great lead source. Whatever it is, just tell the AI, here are the things that need updating. Now go update my context. You don't have to sit here and meticulously comb through it and update it. You will want to quality control it and make sure that it is accurate once it's up there, but you don't have to sit there and comb through it. You can just brain dump. And like I said, I recommend an app called Whisperflow, and that is a dictation app. And so what you can do is you can click it and you can say, this context needs updated. I have fired Lionel Hutz because he is incompetent. And now when I go in there, so I would need to add the context to this and do the things, but that's all you need to say and it will go and update that context for you, right? And so if I wanted to add that, I could add the project and, okay, no, I would need to start a new project there. Let's see, add folder. So I would just go to add files. I think it's going to be in here. Okay. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, so I'm actually just gonna go grab the folder that's open right here. And so what I can do is I can just grab this, and I can grab this About Me file, and I can pull this into the chat. So,
Ask you
yeah,
some questions.
100%. I prefer if you did.
Okay.
I don't like hearing myself talk, so more questions the better.
Dot ends with files.
Yes.
I mean, how do I get that? And where do you, because I noticed, like, if I go to save, for instance, okay, I don't have a Mac,
Mhm.
first of all. If I go save a file, that's not a file type.
Yep.
So what is that? How do I get that? And how do I use it?
Yeah, so you can either have the AI create it for you and say, hey, create this as a markdown file. Create my...
So I create it on like a Word doc and I put it into Claude.
You could even just put it into Claude and ask it to create it, right? Like you don't necessarily need the Word doc. You can.
Oh, I can just type it in there and say create it.
Yeah, yeah.
And save that into your desktop.
Yes. And
So we're creating two different folders, meaning a folder on your desktop and also a folder on chat on Claude.
yeah, so you can, and we will get into projects and stuff, and we're going to do that, I think, week 3 to make it a little more simple. But yeah, so the way I create them is you can either open a text editor, like Notepad, stuff like that, and usually they have a save as where you can save it as a markdown. Or you can literally just type it into Claude and say, create a markdown file for this, name the markdown file this, right? And it will create it for you.
So going back to our screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
So we take a screenshot of whatever, page number 1.
Yep.
And it said, hey, transcribe this. And I did. And then did the next one. So
Yep.
I'm taking page 1,
Yep.
What do I do with that information?
Yeah, so you've got that prompt. What you will do is you'll copy that, you'll paste it into a new window, and what you can say is a new chat window. So like a new, whether it's Claude or GPT. Mm-hmm. Yep, you should, yeah. Yeah, so if you go up and you do, yeah, so actually I don't know if you can, Claude used to be weird where you couldn't actually have multiple windows, so it may be the case that you can't.
I still don't understand the concept of me having an app versus the computer Claude. I don't really understand that.
So like going online to do it versus downloading the app and doing it?
Well, I have the app.
Okay.
And that's where I'm working from.
Yeah.
But is there something else I should be doing?
So you can do Claude Code, which is the more advanced of the two, and that's week 4. We're gonna get into week 4. So yeah. Yeah, for now, yeah. Unless you're, like, I don't ever want to slow people down. I don't want to become the American government. So if you want to get into Claude Code, I'm super happy for you to do that. But if you're just figuring it out, I would stay in the app because it's the more simple user interface. It's less intimidating, and it has all the tools right there. You don't have to know any of the background stuff to actually get it to function the way it's designed to.
FYI, I was in perplexity, and I had done a context card before, but I had no idea how to get to it, where it was. So I just asked Perplexity. I said, do you have a context card on me?
Yeah.
So then it come up and it said, yes, and this is what it is, and this is what I do with it. So when you were talking, I said, make me an MD file.
Yep.
And it did that, and I just sent it to Colby to read because you're so blown away. Robin and I are really know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I show it to her, and she's like, oh my God.
Yep.
But you, as well as you know me, you could have never described me like this. But when you see this, you could have said that's Carly.
Yep, exactly, yeah.
It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I just asked it, whatever, I asked it the prompt. And it's like, well, I don't see that folder. Like, where is it in the conversation? But it's not in the conversation, it's on my computer.
Right.
So how am I going to know? How does it know to read my computer? I don't
So-
understand that.
So what I would do is I would say there is a folder in my downloads or wherever you saved it, and then say, how do I pull this information into the app? And so what you can also do is you can find the folder on your computer, and if it doesn't exist, tell it to create it. You can say, hey, create this.
Oh, it says I don't have access to your desktop.
Okay, yep. And so that's if you add the plus, if it's on GitHub, you can add it, or you can click add files or photos. And if it's not in here, you'll have to just create it. And you can get it to create, so let's see here.
At the end of mine, it gave me a copy paste prompt that said use the following context in our responses.
Well, it doesn't want the folder. Because I keep showing it the folder, and it's like, okay, well, keeps going. It's like, well, what in the folder?
Are you paying the extra for the?
Yeah.
Oh, and just so you guys know, I do have a 7-day free trial because I have to pay for the most expensive everything. Super fun. I do have a 7-day free trial. So if you guys want to try out like the highest paid tier of Claude, I can give that, like there's a URL that I can put on the screen. You guys can capture it, and then you'll have 7 days to kind of play around with it and build your cards. That's what I recommend is and I say that, so what I've been trying to wait for is for the government to re-release Fable and Mythos before that happens. Because if those get re-released, the 7-day trial is infinitely more valuable to you guys than it is right now. Even though Opus 4.8 is a really, really good model, it's a step change when you get to Mythos. So I would wait until the day they release that. Like, I'll give you the sign-up stuff. I'd wait till the day they release that and then go get your 7-day trial and then optimize for what you need to do with that. But this is the...
Asking stuff, it's like, I still don't have that. I still don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, and that's totally good. And there will likely become a day where you get one, and you're like, oh, the light bulb has gone. Like, you won't even realize that the light bulb has turned on. You'll just be like 3 context cards deep, and you'll be like, oh, I get it now, right? And it's one of those things that, like, very rarely for me in this space have I had something that's like, it's a 1-to-1, oh, I got that, the light bulb went off, and like it's a magic moment. 9 times out of 10 with this, I've gotten down the road with things and I'm like, oh, I get it now, because I just did the thing that I thought I didn't get, right? And so...
You're saying your computer's not getting it, right? You're saying.
No, it's basically telling me I don't have contact cards. It's really what it keeps telling me.
And
It's like,
do
you
you
keep
not
asking me
have-
to do this, yet
Did
you
you
don't
do a
have.
context card?
I know I have like a document.
Oh, well, then you don't have a context.
Exactly. It keeps
card.
confusing me. That's what I'm realizing.
Your computer's right.
It keeps telling me over and over again what to do.
I had one from another class we did that I put into mine. That's how we found it.
And I'm going to send you the Marge Simpson sample files so that literally all you'll have to do is put these in. So like, as an example, here's a context card for Mr. Burns. So who they are, Mr. Burns, C. Montgomery Burns is the owner of the Springfield Nuclear Power Plant, and by a wide margin, the wealthiest person I've ever taken on as a client, right? And so this is the context for that particular client. Now there's going to be a different context for Barney Gumble, who, as you may know, is the local drunk. Barney Gumble is a first-time buyer and one of the most genuinely kind people I have ever helped. He is turning a real corner in his life and is ready to put down roots and buy his first home. So I don't know that that's the case, but that's very different than Mr. Burns, right? And so it's what you can do. And like I said, I'll put these 3 folders into a Google Drive. And so all you'll have to do is take the documents from those folders, put them into the thing and say, make these for me. I'm not Marge Simpson. I'm X, Y, and Z. Make these for me. And then again, it's up to you to quality control it. Because the thing that I always tell people is ChatGPT ain't getting sued. Well, they are getting sued a lot, but they're not going to get sued on your behalf, right? Like, if you put out an output that is liable to fair housing, your ass is on the line, not ChatGPT's, right? So make sure that you are really quality controlling the important things. And that being said, make sure that you're not over quality controlling the things that are just like, hey, I just need to do this fast and get a result back out, right? Because that's, when ChatGPT first came out, I spent hours designing a logo. Complete waste of time. If you look at logos out there, like look at FedEx, look at Google, it's literally just Word, right? Like the logo does not mean anything until it does, right? And you can take your time to create that and the logo changes until you find something you like. But so you can see here, this is the contact card that it created as a markdown file. So contact card, Lionel Hutz, who he is. Lionel Hutz, former broker of record for my practice at Red Blazer Real Estate or Realty, and the lawyer the brokerage leaned on for a compliance question. He is also the reason I got into real estate in the first place. I ran into him after he'd become a realtor and I decided I could do honest work in this business. Also, fun fact, I had this AI do a ton of research on Simpsons lore to make sure this is accurate. So this is like real Simpsons fan. I'm not a huge Simpsons fan. I used to be, but like this is like it did the research to make sure that it's actually genuine to the characters. And so what you can do is once you have it created is you can click this and you can download it as a markdown file. Once it's downloaded,
Is HTML the same?
HTML is not. So HTML will have a bunch of different tags and excessive things that is not required for the AI to use. So the reason I choose Markdown over HTML is that, and you can say like, please create this in Markdown, not HTML. The reason I choose Markdown over HTML is because there's a lot of what's called metadata in HTML, meaning that there's a body tag, and it is a little bit more organized, but it also adds a lot of junk into the AI's context window that's not necessary. And so if I save this, in downloads, so this is the Lionel Hutz contact card. Go to new Finder window. Downloads. Okay. And so now, Lionel Hutz is a client. So, I'm going to show you guys how this works from a conceptual standpoint. So, if I take my business, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these things, and I'm going to drag and drop them. And so now these are all context that is loaded into the AI. So when it goes to make a decision, it's going to analyze all of these, right? And so now, again, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to type my prompt. I'm going to say, analyze all of the inputs that I have provided to you. This is my personal brand context. Provide a landing page for my business that will allow me to attract real estate clients for my business. Understand me deeply and exactly who my core audience is. Build 3 versions of the asset and present them each to me. Then I'm going to do is press enter. So now, theoretically, it should analyze all of these and create a website that is roughly what I need. Now, the things that I need to add to this to make it really, really good, personal images. So it's not going to have any pictures or anything like that. So you'll need to add images, same that you would with the home, right? So like if you have deals, what you might want to even do is put a new folder and put, if you've got a deal on Centerpoint Road, right? And you would put all the context in there, including the pictures. So then you would have everything in one place. The pictures of the home, any videos, the written context that you would have for the deal, all of it is in one place that is super accessible for the AI. And so you can see right now, and I always like to read the observability portion because that tells you what the AI is thinking as it's generating the assets. And so if you see that it is generating something that is way off base for what you want, you can stop it there and say, hey, make this adjustment, right? And so it's going to read the design and quality control skills that apply to conversion-focused web pages, and then it's going to build 3 distinct landing pages faithful to Marge's context. And so what it's going to do is it is now building things that are just exclusive to the information that it has. So it's taking the general information that it knows of how to code HTML, what it knows about real estate, and it's adding your personal information to it. and then it's building something that is personal to you. And that's why this is super duper scalable, because you can build things that are very, very custom, very, very fast as soon as you have that context built out, right? And so again, it takes a little bit of time to generate, and I always, one thing that is, I'll give you two very, very useful tips. One is, if you're ever questioning what you need to do, ask the AI to interview you. Because sometimes you don't actually know what outcome you're trying to get. You just know the direction you want to go, right? And say, interview me and tell me how to get where I want to go. This is where I want to go, right? I don't have any outcome in mind, but this is the direction I'm trying to go. The other thing is, if you ask for variants, it will provide 3 unique variants, ideally in different styles, different everything. I may not have given it enough specific context to do that, but if you ask for a variant after it's already created just one output, it'll create a variant that's very similar to that one output, because it doesn't know, oh, there's a variant, right? Like, the AI is trying to get to an algorithmic place that it understands. And so the thing you want to do is you want to make sure that if you ask for variability, that it creates variables. Like, I ask for 3 to 5 outputs usually, because it's so easy to create. And then you just junk the stuff and like, oftentimes what I'll do is I will get 3 outputs and I'll be like, I like this from number 1, I like this from number 2, and I like this from number 3. Build that, right? And a lot of times it's like, I didn't even know that I liked or would have liked this stuff in number 2, because it's created something that I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I would have never thought about that, right? And so use the co-intelligence as an intelligence piece. Like, that's what it is right now. It is a co-intelligence partner. It is no longer just like a very advanced Google, right? You're looking for it to be a branding partner, design partner, a building partner. It's working with you. Now, that being said, I don't anthropomorphize this and make it human either, because it's working with you based on what you tell it. So it will also directly work against you if you give it bad information, right?
Can I ask you what this is?
Yeah.
This is like a computer thing. I asked it to create an MD file, basically.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. So I would click Windows default, and then click OK, and that should, yeah, there you go.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, absolutely. So right now it's build, and so one thing that's cool too is it'll name the variants. So right now it's building version 1 of the landing page, and it's calling it the Warm Honest Flagship. And so we will see what it creates, but it's going to do that and that and that. And so basically with this, I was hoping it would create it a little faster. I should have not done the high model, because it's working to create the best possible output instead of an output that's a little bit quicker. But once it creates the landing pages, they should be decent. And the other thing too is you can always put your design preferences in a file. So you can put your design preferences in a markdown file, and then that kind of wrangles it and guardrails it to specifically what you want. So eventually this is going to create 3 outputs, and this is just going to be specific to Marge. Now, if I would have put this, and we'll do Ned Flanders as the client, and we will load Marge's context. Sorry, as my story mentioned earlier, my computer is on its last legs because I did a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't be doing or am not supposed to be doing as it relates to coding and video generating. But you upload, you can see here, I've got a deal uploaded, I've got a client in there, and I have all of my personal stuff. So this is the full landing page if you were making a custom to you that you're going to send to a client about a specific property, right? So this is okay, so it's synthesizing the brand into 3 iterations. So it's building version 1, building version 2, and building version 3. You can see it's doing its coding stuff here. You don't necessarily have to care about that, but again, it is useful to look at the observability and say, okay, it's working on number 2. If there was a problem here, I can intervene immediately. So it is building all 3, and then it's going to present them. Once that's done, I'll show you what it looks like to build an asset specifically for a client about a specific deal, and then that'll be what we've got for the day. And then next week, like I said, we're going to go over optimization and like actually how to get these things to be really how you want them. Now, this may produce a better result for me than it will for you guys because I have different skills. I have things that are already programmed into this that it's calling without me even having to tell it to do that, right? And so that it will go down into we'll get into that in the optimization phase of like, how do you do this without actually having to do that, the steps every time? How do you build your taste to make sure that it's fully rolling? So, and you can see here, it's quality controlling already. So version 2, it's replacing the accent stripe quote card with the top rule. So it's making changes and auditing the page already without me having to do it to marry up to my things that you guys do not have in your context yet, but will by the end of this cohort. And so it's doing the same thing there. Okay, so here is Marge Simpson with Red Blazer Realty. This is her landing page, right? So this is fair price, full disclosure, no surprises at the table. Now, there is no images here. So again, if you want images, add that into your context folder. If you have a logo, put that into your personal context folder, and it will push that stuff onto the page, right? And so if we go down, there's 2 honest payouts. I keep the excitement from outrunning the numbers. You'll notice that this is not blue and purple. And the reason for that is 1, the AI has gotten better, but 2, the design rules that I have are don't ever do that. Literally in my design rules, I say if you ever create a purple and blue gradient, I will fire you. And that's like, and you would be surprised at what people are putting in prompts. So there was a coding tool where the prompt literally started with, kidnappers have taken my mother. If you do not do a good job building these assets, they will kill her. That's literally what it said in the prompt. And I don't know if you guys heard, but Anthropic at one point, the model started blackmailing engineers. So one of the engineers was like, hey, I'm going to switch to ChatGPT because you're giving me crappy outputs, blah, 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 blah. And the model responded with, how would your wife like to know about this email? It's literally started to blackmail the researchers. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And so you can see I've got 3 landing pages here. So let's look at version number 2. So this is version number 2, right? Completely different style. It is completely different. And so now you can look at these and you can say, you know what? I like this headline better, but I like the red and white color scheme better, right? And so then Marge at fair price. So again, now it went back to that same color style. And that might have been actually, yeah, that's the same one. Let's see if that's different. Okay, yeah, so the one is different again, right? And so you have to look at all of these and pull what elements you like versus what you don't like. Let the AI make a bunch of the technical decisions for you, and then you just look at them and say, I like this, I don't like this. There's no reason for anyone to really have an understanding on HTML anymore because you can operate it all within plain English, right? So these are all different things that you can make observations about. And like literally, if I was like, so I'm going to start this second page a while because it does take a second to get rolling. But if I pull up my narration and I say, I really love the hero section from page 1. I love the color scheme from page 3. And I like the order of page 2. Please combine all of these into a new master website for my real estate business. So then finish and paste that. So that's in there. And I forget what the rate is, but I think it's like between 20 and 50 times faster to talk than it is for the average person to type, right? And so the worse you are at typing, the better it is for you to be talking if you can. The other thing that's really useful about talking is your brain with talking does not have to catch up to your fingers. For me, if I'm thinking and typing, I type, I catch up to where my brain's at, and then I forget where my brain's at, right? So I'm like, okay, I have to wait. Okay, what was I thinking? Okay, now my thought process is interrupted and it's very disruptive, right? Whereas if you're talking, it's much easier to just keep everything going, and then you can go back and delete the things that you said that you don't like or whatever it is, right? It's much easier to get the information in there and then pull information out by deleting than it is to try to type, let your brain catch up, type, let your brain catch up. It's just a much more segmented creation process. At least that's for me what I've found. And so now it's architecting the listing page. It's going through fair housing compliance, right? And so it's trying to do everything it can to create this particular page for that particular client. Now, what would be even better is if we had made a decision on what landing page was best and implemented that style as well. So it's architecting, it's listing, and again, and I probably should be doing better with prompting for you guys, but I'm so used to just the way that I prompt because I have so much stuff in the back end. But you want to make sure that you're asking for links, asking for citations, asking the AI how it's validating its outputs. Right? That's a key question. How are you validating? And that's AI speak for how are you ensuring that you're giving me accurate information that is useful to me, right? How are you not hallucinating? Okay, so now it is building this. And so now it did all the facts. So that was the research phase, right? Seller preview for Ned, built from only what I can actually source. 2 things up front because they change what's safe to publish. First, I read the new home as Ned's newly listed bungalow on Calvary Lane, the one he's selling. And I built this as a seller review version of its listing pages so he can approve how it's presented before anything goes public. Meaning, it's created something that you can send to Ned that Ned is going to be able to sign off on before you go live with it. Right? And so now you've created a useful asset that you've given to the seller before that home even gets live on the internet. And so now it is, there's no home for Calvary Lane in the upload, so I'm sourcing directly from your brand voice, which is, okay, yep. And so you can see here, there's already a flaw in the AI because right here is the Calvary Lane listing, right? So it missed it because I didn't put it in there. And that is because I'm using the app. Like I said, the app uses what's called a sandbox. What is a sandbox? A sandbox is basically an environment, it's a fake computer that this creates that allows it to give access to only a select few things so that it doesn't have access to your computer and can't go in there and change a bunch of files that you don't want changed. Right? So this is for more, I don't want to say remedial users, but that's the reality is it's for users who could harm their computer by letting the AI just go wild, right? So if you're not validating, if you're not reading, if you're not checking, stay in the app. And so we'll see how this is going. So here we go. It created the Marge listing for Cavalry Lane, which is going to be incorrect because we don't have, and so here it is. So it's a 3-bedroom bungalow on Cavalry Lane, close to downtown, new furnace in 2024, refined hardwoods in the main room. And you can see it's telling you all about the features of that house. There would be a picture here, and there would be all that useful stuff. And so here's a note from the owner about the house. So this is Ned's old house that he's selling. So Ned has owned this home for about 8 years and is simplifying his holdings. He has looked after the place and he would like it to go to someone who will care for it the way he has, right? And so you may say, I don't like the fact that it says Ned is simplifying his holdings. Let's change that to be more warm and friendly, right? And so however you're operating, and so I will show you, right? So, let's say I forgot to upload this context. Please generate a new asset with this additional information. And that's one of the other things that's great about AI is you can move so fast that the mistakes don't matter that much. You can almost always fix or recover what you're doing. So don't get caught up in being perfect. Try to go fast, like uncomfortably fast, because that's the only way that you will learn to go faster is if it's uncomfortable to do, right? And so now it's reconciling the property facts against what it just wrote, and it is going to create a new asset. But like I said, this is how we plan, how we build our context, and then how we use it to create things that are actually valuable to you. That's pretty much the class today. It's just getting a handle on how to build raw assets. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be built, and then you can iterate forward. This is exactly why we teach the OODA loop, right? Like observe, orient, decide, act. Once this creates the output, I'm going to observe it. I'm going to orient where it's different than I want it to be. I'm going to decide how I want to make those changes, and then I'm going to tell the AI to act on those changes. It's going to create a new asset, and then you can build it. But that is pretty much the class for today. Next week, we're going to get into how to optimize. We'll do a recap and make sure that everyone's got a good handle on this. And if there's any questions now, I'm obviously super duper happy to answer them. But effectively, building is all about context right now. So just grab, and like I said, I will have a link to the Google Drive that has all of these files and folders on the landing page that you guys will get. And then you can download these and say, hey, here's sample context, build these for my business. Then you just need to read it and make sure it's actually built for your business and 100% accurate, right? So this initial phase is a lot of reading. So it's build it, read it, refine it, get this as perfect as you possibly can, because I tell people it's very much like the plane that takes off in LA and is aimed at New York. If it's a degree off, you end up in like Qatar or whatever it is. I don't remember the exact reference, but it's like just a couple degrees makes a massive difference the further down your asset creation pipeline you get, right? And so this is what we're looking at. Let's see if it actually built it. Okay, so this says, this changes the page in real ways. The facts I used before came from your brand voice writing sample, which turns out to describe a different illustrative house. The actual home card corrects 4 things. It's a single level bungalow, and it just goes over what the things are that need corrected. Now, I also have no idea if these are actual Simpsons addresses, but based on the research that it did, they probably are. So it can get as accurate as you want, but it's always up to you to be the person responsible to ensure that the accuracy is accurate, right? Because it will go in whatever direction you tell it to. And so now you can see it's verifying content compliance by auditing restricted terms. So it is literally taking the page that it just created and it's looking through my context to say, does he say don't use dream home? Does he say don't use basic jargon that is not specific. Like, what is it? What is the communication style that this person uses to convey their message, right? And that's, again, why it's super important that you guys understand that everybody's business here is different. Everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. Everybody communicates differently. Your clients are working with you because of you, right? And so you want to make sure that you are in as much of the AI as it possibly can be, and that your communication style is captured as well as it can be. And so now it's the same page, but it's updated to the actual facts of the property, right? So that's how you build assets with context.
So can I have some action items?
Yeah.
So today, we are making sure we have the right context cards.
Yep.
That's what we're bringing next week, but maybe going further, we should have maybe a context card regarding what we want for our branding and our taste and whatever else you said here.
Yep, that's ideal. Yep.
And then you will put everything together and
Right.
create a landing page.
Yep. Yeah, and just the big thing that I would say is play around. Like, be curious. The biggest advantage you have with AI is being curious and understanding that it's really hard to screw it up to a point where you can't recover it, right? Like, it's so difficult to make such a catastrophic mistake that you can't just build something that's just... The thing I always tell people is, if you ever get down such a path where you're like, this is a spaghetti mess, just start over. Like, you can just start over if you have the context to do it.
I can already see the huge level of change from Claude to ChatGPT.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy. Okay. Got it.
And that's, yeah, so...
Pay for the
So, and this is the big thing, is just build out your context cards and play around with it. Like, try to build a landing page. Like, understand that success it means different things to everybody. And ideally, what success means to you with AI right now will be wildly different than what it means to you in a year if you keep making small incremental changes. If you keep making small progress daily, weekly, monthly, it looks wildly different. Like, if I were to show you some stuff that I built early on, and so one, my skill level has increased, but the model intelligence has gone better as well. And so both of those things are moving my outputs forward. And that's the same thing for you guys. As you get better at understanding what generates good outputs, you will get more effective at it. As the models get more intelligent, they will get more effective at it. So between those two things, what I always tell people is, one day, sooner or later, I will be able to do whatever I want, because the barrier to entry due to model intelligence is coming down. My skill set is going up. Now, the way they're working is, my skill set is probably going up at this speed. The accessibility of model intelligence is coming down like this, right? So, like, I'm moving slowly towards where I need to be. The model is looking to meet me as fast as it can. Now, the model is going to keep going where I don't need this skill set to do the things that I used to do. So what I'm saying is, the faster that you can understand the skill set needed to accomplish what you need to do, the more of an advantage you will have for a longer period of time, because eventually everyone will have the same skill sets that you guys do right now, right? Even though we're here in this class learning about it, the model intelligence is making it so that all of this stuff becomes more accessible. But the more you know, the more you will be able to create things that differentiate you from everyone else, right? Because right now, I don't know too many realtors that are building specific landing pages for houses, deals, and clients, right? Like, I don't, or themselves, their deal, and their client, and putting it all together in a way that makes them feel like, holy cow, this was built just for me, for this house. It shows me kind of all the facts and features that are specific to me, right? So if they care deeply about the school district, you want to make sure that that's in their context card and that that's on the landing page that you're sending them. If they care deeply about, oh, I love this area, but I don't know if there's any vendors in the area that are going to mow my lawn and do X, Y, and Z. Say, hey, AI, go find vendors and attach them to this page so that they have a painter, they have a carpenter, they have X, Y, and Z in the area. That's something else that you guys can do. If you have trusted vendors, you can make a contact card for those vendors so that you can say, oh, this person needs painting. Let's add the painter I know that's a really good painter to that context card. And so you can see here too, so this landing page has a thing that says confirming before it goes live, meaning you'll want to tell Ned, hey, on that section about halfway down the page, there are a couple things that I need you to verify. Verify these things, and then I will confirm that, and we can push it live, right? And so it says verify, verify, verify. So are those things accurate? Yes, rock and roll. Let's move forward. Or are there changes that need to be made? And that is how you use the context cards to build landing pages.
Good job.
Yay! Hopefully everyone's head hurts. The biggest thing with this is you don't have to, just remember that you don't have to get it all right now. I come into this class and it may look like, oh, he knows what he's doing, it's really easy. It took 2.5, 3 years of me fumbling around like an idiot to figure it out, right? And so my goal is to shortcut that fumbling process for you guys. But don't think that because it's accessible to me, it wasn't a lot of work and a lot of learning and me looking like a goofball for a certain period of time, because that's what was required for me to get it. Just understand that just go try stuff. Try stuff, see what works, see what doesn't work, and that's how you figure it out. It's literally, like for me, I was one of those kids that loved playing with Legos. That's all this is. It is just building digital Lego blocks. That's legit what it is.
What was amazing to me is to just ask AI, because when I thought, okay, I've created a context card. I don't even know where it is. I don't know how to
Yep.
get to it. I don't know how to change it. I'm like,
Yep.
what a silly girl. So I go in and I'm like, do I even have a context card? Can you find it? And it does. And then after I noticed there were errors in there, some were crazy.
Yeah.
Errors. I'm like, what? I've never worked for Brad.
Right. Yeah, it's like, where'd you get this? Yep.
Yeah. And so you were talking, I was waiting for you to finish so I could ask you, why can't I change anything? And I'm like, I'll just ask. And I asked, and it said, what do you want changed? Just write it in here to me. You don't even have to think about it. Just say, remove this, add this.
Yep.
And I was like,
Yep. And that is exactly the reason why I believe that if you're a teacher in the AI space and you are not looking to obsolete yourself, you are trying to fight for a job that will not exist, because the AI will teach. It's the only tool in modern history that will teach you how to use it better than I can, right? As long as you understand how to use it, you can be a better operator with it than me. You just have to be curious and play. Like that, so many people think work has to be hard and challenging and all this kind of stuff. And yes, it does when you get to certain levels. But right now, just play around. Just have a good time with it and try to create fun things. Like I create stuff for my daughter all the time. Not because I don't have better things to do, but because it's fun for me to play around. And then I take that stuff and I'm like, oh, I can use this design principle in my actual business. I can use it. And so you can play and have a good time with it and end up being very productive. And that's what people kind of miss, right? Like work is supposed to be value giving and fun to some degree. And this allows it to be fun without all the tediousness of like, how do I code a landing page? How do I do X, Y, and Z? The tedium is gone, right? It doesn't have to be there anymore. And so I'm a big proponent of just like explore, try stuff, trash it if it's not good, and start over. And then try to get to, and even if it is good, start over and try to get to that output with less input. Right? Like see how, let's say it took you 30 prompts to get to the final output. Take that output and ask the AI, how can I get this in one prompt, not 30? Right? Like review this conversation and tell me what I did that got me from there to here. And then take that prompt and try to get it in less time, right? It's the same with anything. Like it's practice and it's repetitions at the fundamentals. No one who is elite at anything has ever said, you know what, I got too good at the fundamentals. It just doesn't exist.
very good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are you're doing the,
What?
yeah.
I needed desperately to do everything on my computer.
Yeah.
That's the level I will be at.
And I keep going back. Came across a file, picture of my social security card on my computer.
Yep.
And I'm like, tying Claude into
Yeah.
my computer when I have that on there, and then if I have a picture of my driver's license, what?
Yep.
What are the?
Oh, 100%.
I just can't wrap my head around taking that on. I would love for it to go in and clean up a bunch of stuff. And be able to talk to it, and manipulate.
Yeah.
Give the AI its own computer, right?
Yeah, so if you're and that's the big thing is like for you, if that's uncomfortable, just keep it in the app and keep it sandbox so that you have to drag the context that you want in manually and it doesn't have the ability to run wild on your computer. And that's like probably within the next month or so, I'm going to get a little Mac Mini and I'm going to basically give an AI agent its own identity, right? So it's going to have its own email address, its own Slack handle, its own everything. So it's going to have its own Instagram account, the whole thing. And so it is going to be a computer that's literally just running itself. And that'll take iteration and all that kind of stuff. But it's like we talked about with like OpenClaw and Hermes and some of that kind of stuff. That's, and so I will be, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here's an update. I'm done with this. What would you like me to do next?
I thought so that was great because there's a guy that created an OpenClaw and he was just kind of let it run loose, and he said that after like a morning it called him, it went and it got a voice over IP phone number, it went and got a text to speech word to voice translating package, and it called him on the phone, and it was like, hey, this is Walter, your agent. How's it going? Like, and it's like, all right, that's, yeah. 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 And that's one of the reasons, like you said, one of the reasons that I want to give it its own computer so it doesn't have access to my stuff. Because I think the more autonomous the agents are, the more you want it to have its own kind of personal ecosystem where it can interact without having access to your credit cards, to your social security number, to the things that you don't want to ever go into the AI.
You don't want your life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like when you're saying, I all the time, sometimes I get so organized in my files and stuff on my computer, I can't find anything, right?
Yep.
So it's almost like that kind of thing, like find this, and then I'm finding that it had an update, and now when I search for something, it's like giving me stuff I don't want. And then I also have like a million different email addresses, and I'm having a really hard time managing them all. So there's a lot of different things. Like I need to use this tool as a literal assistant, and I'm not doing that at all.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to start that, but I do need that.
Well, I think you're starting already, just getting that elevator, and then you can sit and just talk to Claude.
And it'll tell you what to do. I mean,
Yep.
that's what when it kept, I guess I didn't challenge it enough, which is something that I've learned through this class a lot. And I just asked it, like the chat, I was like, did I ever tell you any guardrails about it? He was like, no, but you should. And then it was like, this is what I would do. I was like, oh, good, that's good.
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
I don't know what to tell it.
And I trust you.
Right.
Set these guardrails.
Right, I know, that's the thing. I don't trust them. I'm like, sure, those are all good guardrails.
Well, and I think that's what makes me just spectacular at this. I am very curious, and I have asked questions. Every time that the mother that was unfortunately had to raise me said, if you ask me one more question, one more, I'm taking you out.
Yeah.
And I was nonstop.
I'm the same way.
Nonstop.
Yeah, I actually so I grew up in a rural, like small town where the teaching staff cared more about being in the position of authority than having useful information to give to the kids. And I was that super annoying kid that had every single question. That the teachers actually bullied me to stop asking questions. They encouraged other kids to bully me. So I ended up getting in a bunch of fights because the teachers would be like, oh, that's a bad question. Everybody, we're going to be late for recess because Ryan asked this question and I have to answer it. So like we get out to recess. All right, I'm gonna beat you up for doing that. All right, let's see you try. Let's get it on. But yeah, like and so like I eventually just stopped asking questions. And so what I truly predict is you're going to see, especially for the introvert community, you're going to see this wave of shadow intelligence, because if I had AI, I would have just been like, I don't need these losers to get the information I want. You know what I mean? Like I would have just gone home and got it myself. And so I do think that that's going to be something, and that's what I encourage like my kids personally. I say, look, you have minimum competencies that I need you to achieve. Beyond that, you are not allowed to not learn. So you just need to get as deep on the things that are fascinating to you as you possibly can. And so like, do you like math? No, not really. Okay, great. Well, you have to achieve this level of competency, and then you can go explore your curiosity and whatever you want to explore. But like you will, like I tell my kids, like I will not allow you to not be intellectually curious. Like it's unreasonable to not be a lifelong learner and expect to succeed in today's society. It's just unreasonable, especially with like the intelligence and the tools that we have access to.
I was just talking about that with my husband the other day. Like somebody interviewed, and I'm like, the ignorance of people, it's unexcusable based on how much information is at your fingertips.
Mhm.
It's actually shocking how stupid people are, and all they have to do is look it up. And
Yep. Yep.
What are you talking about? How do you not know that? And if you don't know, go look it up and figure it out. I mean, I don't understand.
Right.
That was literally just me sitting here waiting for him
Yeah.
to ask you the question. And I was like, oh.
Right.
You know, but I get it.
Right.
I mean, I get
And I am 100% living proof that where you start is not where you, because I probably told the story in here, but I barely graduated high school. I did not get to walk in my graduation because I did not do the graduation project that they required you to do to walk in graduation. I dropped out of a 6-month personal training school, if that tells you anything about my academic proclivities. But like just being a lifelong learner, I've caught up to almost everybody in my high school class. Like I'm moving right along, right? And so it's not where you start, it's just being curious and allowing that to take you down whatever road you want.
Well, I like the AI just asking it, tell me what I'm not thinking of.
Yes.
'Cause that's all I need to know.
Yep, 100%. Yeah.
I need to know what I don't know.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
So bring it to me.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and it does such a good job of filling in the gaps of like, you know, you missed this, you missed this, you missed this, or like, oh, I went out and searched and found that there's actually this tool that you could use that's a free solution for this problem that's no longer actually a problem, right? And so 100%.
That's how I use it in my travel stuff. I'll put together my itineraries or things that I'm doing, and then I'll put it in there and say, what am I missing? What are the must-sees? What are
Yep.
the things I should have looked at on the way to this one?
Yeah.
Well, and then just any kind of life stuff that's happening. I spend more time in my head trying to think of, okay, what if, you know, this, and then, you know, or I can just plug it in, tell me what I'm not thinking about here. You know, within 5 minutes I've got,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Now I don't have to spin my wheels over.
Saved all that.
Oh, 100%. And one of the best that like one of my favorite like ends to a prompt is like entering the prompt and then saying, interview me to get any additional context or things that I am an expert in that I did not put in or things that I'm missing. And it'll just start asking you questions, and then it creates a much better output because it's now got all of the information it needs to actually give you the most valuable output.
I've never done that, but I'm done.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
High recommendation on that. Yeah.
What am I?
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. This is so much fun.
We can talk about maybe coming to our network.
100%. I'm all the way down for that.
What would you want to kind of